Chapter 34. Yasmeen. Yasmeen's footsteps echoed in the hallway as she stormed into the room she shared with Ben, determined to confront him about what Leah had revealed. But her anger deflated like a punctured balloon when she saw him sitting at the dining table with Malcolm, their heads bent close together in conversation. They both looked up in surprise at her entrance. Malcolm's warm smile hit her like a punch to the gut, leaving her breathless and exposed. His calm, soft voice cut through the tense air. "Good afternoon, Yasmeen." She could feel her insides quivering at the sound, despising the way he looked at her with his piercing gaze. It was hungry and wanting, leaving her feeling vulnerable at his presence. She shifted uncomfortably, trying to maintain a composed facade as he greeted her with those 3 simple words. Her voice came out in a shaky whisper. "Malcolm?" She couldn't bring herself to look at him, her eyes fixed on the ground. "Ben, I need to talk to you. Alone." She fidgeted with the hem of her blouse, unable to meet the eyes of either man sitting before her. "What you have to say, you can say in front of our fearless leader," Ben said in a tone that clearly conveyed his annoyance with her. Yasmeen's eyes flickered upwards in shock as she struggled to process what she was hearing. She stood, mouth wide open in disbelief. "Ben, it's important." She forced back the whine entering her voice. Her fingers twisted nervously, very similar to how Leah's fingers twisted just moments before outside the complex, when Yasmeen stood smugly, hand on her hips, before her. Ben remained motionless, staring at Yasmeen without wavering from his initial statement. A wide Cheshire cat smile stretched across Malcolm's lips. His chin disappeared, leaving only his deep cleft. "Yasmeen, we are all family in the decree. What bothers you will bother us all. We have no secrets. We are one." Malcolm spoke his words, trying to mesmerize her. She couldn't stand it. The hypocrisy was too much. "Oh, is that so?" she said bravely. She placed her hands firmly on her slowly disappearing waist. "That's funny, since secrets are being kept from me." Malcolm's manicured eyebrow raised, surprised, and Yasmeen couldn't help but notice his and Ben's eyes locking with a knowing look. "What on earth are you talking about?" Ben's smooth, deep voice cut through Yasmeen's words, halting her in her tracks. The slight tremble in his tone hinted at a truth she didn't want to hear. He refused to meet her eyes, and a feeling of dread washed over Yasmeen. Leah's words echoed in her mind. Vasectomy. The atmosphere shifted suddenly. Tension lingered like a dense fog. She studied the expressions on the faces before her, catching the way Malcolm's eyes darted, sparkling between the two of them. He was simpering, almost gleeful. They both avoided looking at her, making her feel like an outsider in her own rooms. Her mind raced with questions. What secrets were being kept from her? What was going on, and what had she got herself involved in? "Ben, I'd rather talk about this in private with you," she said, starting to feel like a fool. Leah's genuine surprise at hearing Yasmeen was pregnant unnerved her. Ben's wife didn't seem bitter or jealous at all. Her reaction was one of shock, astonished to learn that Yasmeen thought she was pregnant with Ben's baby. The news was unbelievable. Impossible. "Ben, did you have a vasectomy?" she blurted out as Leah's words replayed in her head. His eyes widened, and his mouth dropped open in surprise. Letting out a sigh of relief, Malcolm patted Ben on the back and stood up, stretching his arms toward Yasmeen with that damn crazy cat smile. She recoiled, taking a step backwards, her face twisting in disgust. The moment hung heavy in the air as she spoke, his voice low and confident. He had stopped his slow, deliberate approach, and now stood with unwavering patience. "It's time for you to know the truth, sister." He paused, waiting for her to understand what was about to unfold before them. Breath held, Yasmeen looked up at him, dreading what lay ahead. "What truth?" Her voice was not her own, but small, squeaky, barely above a whisper. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, its rhythm louder than the sound of her own voice, drowning out all the other noise in the room. Sweat slicked her palms as she struggled to maintain composure, exposing how terrified she was. "Why, my dear, haven't you figured it out?" Malcolm said with a sly grin, his light eyes flickering towards Yasmeen's stomach. Ben couldn't hold back a snort as he leaned against the wall, smirking. Her heart sank as she followed Malcolm's fixed look, realizing what he was hinting at. She paled and whipped her head in Ben's direction, only to find him staring back at her with a chilling glare.
Figured out what? Ben? What is he talking about?
Yasmeen stumbled over to him, purposely avoiding any contact with Malcolm. She knelt in front of Ben, her hands shaking as she pleaded with him. Ben remained stoic, his cool eyes showing a hint of disgust as he looked down at her.
Do you think I'd ever let you get knocked up with my kid?
Ben spoke, his voice cold. Do you honestly think I'd let another bitch trick me?
Ben? What are you talking about? You're scaring me.
Yasmeen clasped her arms around his legs, burying her head into them. She inhaled his lingering scent clinging to his pants. This was all turning into a nightmare. Only hours ago she was beside herself with happiness. Now she watched her world crumble, powerless to stop it, let alone believe it. Ben sprang from the wall, knocking Yasmeen to the ground. Defeated, she looked up at him, her face conveying hurt and betrayal.
That is enough.
Malcolm's voice boomed with rage. Ben flinched at the sound and stepped back, his head bowed in submission like a trained dog obeying its master. Malcolm walked up to Yasmeen, his outstretched hands pleading for forgiveness. But she shook her head, tears streaming down her face as she backed away from him.
How? The baby!
She sobbed, overwhelmed with disbelief. She placed her hand on her quivering mouth, unable to speak.
Yes, the child.
Malcolm smiled.
The future of the decree.
He tilted his head at the dejected woman crumpled on the floor.
This is the highest honor we have selected for you, my dear.
Yasmeen looked bewildered, her expression twisting as she struggled to speak. She shook her head in disagreement, her dark curls falling around her like a protective curtain.
Many sisters would have embraced the opportunity that you have received.
Malcolm spread his arms above his head like some kind of twisted prophet.
One womb lays empty, the other lays full.
He looked back at Yasmeen, shattered on the floor. With a rush of terror, she lifted her head to meet Malcolm's gaze. In a state of panic, she rocked back and forth, covering her ears, uttering "no" in a rapid, repetitive manner.
The child of the future grows in you, Yasmeen. I have chosen you to carry my child for Tabitha and me.
Malcolm's eyes shone with excitement, his posture growing taller and more confident with each word, hanging in the air, heavy with anticipation and hope.
I don't understand.
Yasmeen's voice sounded frail as she spoke. The dawning realization weakened her. Was this real? Some sick joke? She felt she'd stepped into some kind of alternate reality, where up was down and down was up. It made no sense.
My dear, you are the vessel of my offspring. I have chosen you to grow my seed, to carry my child, to do what Tabitha couldn't.
Yasmeen pulled back, appalled.
No, you lie! It is impossible! I have been faithful only to Ben!
Ben appeared next to Malcolm, his expression lacking any compassion. You fool! Ben's lips curled into a sneer, his words dripped with venom. How could you forget the night of your rebirth? The one where Malcolm fucked you while the decree watched? His mocking words sliced through her, stirring up memories she had struggled to recall. The pool, the taste of wine, and the weight of Malcolm on top of her. Tabitha's eyes brimming with resentment, and the white-robed figures of the decree encircled the pool. And then everything went black. Horror spread across Yasmeen's face as she vaguely recalled it all. The wine must have been laced with something, and Malcolm raped her. What was even more horrifying was the realization that Ben was involved. He had helped plan this sinister scheme. Now it made sense why Tabitha clung to Yasmeen like a leech. She believed the child Yasmeen carried was for her. She gasped sharply, releasing a deep, guttural moan. Her hands flew to her throat, clutching at it as if trying to stop the words from escaping.
No!
She cried out, desperation and disbelief clear in her voice.
It's a lie!
The words echoed off the walls, bouncing back at her with a mocking tone, knowing that it wasn't.
You will bear my child, dear, and give him over to Tabitha to raise. The child will become the prince of the new world, and you will have the honor of being part of history.
A small smile tugged at the edges of Malcolm's mouth. His voice trembled with emotion as he revealed his plans that had finally come to fruition.
No!
Yasmeen cried out again, wrapping her arms around her waist.
No, it won't happen!
Malcolm's lips parted, revealing his white teeth. He barely noticed the figure on the floor, too absorbed in his thoughts and plans for the future. His focus was on the unborn child growing inside her. The child would grow to rule by his side. Everything he had worked for and envisioned was falling into place. It was finally happening. He was like a god, untouchable and all-powerful. No one could stand in his way now.